Welcome to the Bible for Everyone channel. Here, every biblical story is told with intensity, depth, and truth. Before we begin, subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave your like. By sharing this message, you help sow faith and hope in more hearts. In ancient times, in sun-baked lands of the Middle East, one family stood out among the wandering tribes. It was Jacob's family, also known as Israel's. Among his 12 sons was a young man whose life would take turns even the wildest dreams could not have imagined. His name was Joseph. From his youth, Joseph bore a rare innocence and purity of heart in a world ruled by cunning and rivalry. Jacob loved him more than any other son, born to the wife he loved most, Rachel, and to show it, he gifted Joseph a long, multicolored robe that shouted to all, "This one is my chosen." But special favor often breeds hidden jealousy. Joseph's brothers, seeing their father's affection, were consumed by envy, and that envy, like weeds in the dark, quickly turned to hatred. Then came Joseph's dreams. First, he dreamed of sheaves of wheat in the field. His sheaf stood upright while his brothers' sheaves bowed to it. Next he dreamed the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed before him. When he shared these dreams, he ignited his brothers' wrath, and even Jacob rebuked him. "Do you think your mother, your brothers, and I will bow to you?" Yet Jacob tucked those words away in his heart. The brothers, however, hatched a plan born of envy and fury. While tending their flocks in Shechem, Jacob sent Joseph to check on them. Joseph trudged across lonely fields and barren hills. When his brothers saw him approaching, they said, "Here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him and throw him into a cistern, then say a wild animal devoured him, and see what becomes of his dreams." Reuben, the eldest, intervened quietly. "Don't shed his blood. Throw him into this cistern in the wilderness, but don't harm him. Maybe I can rescue him later." So they stripped Joseph of his robe, threw him into a dry cistern, dark and cold. Picture Joseph there, tears in his eyes, chest tightening, crying out for the brothers who now turned their backs. While he wept in the darkness, they sat down to eat. Then a caravan of Ishmaelites came from Egypt. Judah said, "What profit is it if we kill our brother? Let's sell him instead." For 20 pieces of silver they bound and sold Joseph. His dreams, his robe, his dignity, all ripped away. He was taken to Egypt. The brothers dipped his robe in goat's blood and returned home to tell Jacob, who tore his garments and wept bitterly, believing his beloved son dead. Meanwhile, Joseph arrived in a foreign land as a slave, purchased by Potiphar, captain of Pharaoh's guard. Even in bondage, Joseph maintained his integrity. Everything he touched thrived because the Lord was with him. Potiphar, impressed, put him in charge of his house. But peace was fleeting. Potiphar's wife, captivated by Joseph's beauty, sought to seduce him. Day after day she tempted him, but Joseph refused. "How could I do such wickedness and sin against God?" Frustrated, she framed him, seizing his robe as false proof of assault. Enraged, Potiphar threw Joseph into prison. Once again, the righteous suffered injustice. In prison, Joseph did not yield to bitterness. He found favor with the warden, and again everything under his care prospered. Then 2 of Pharaoh's officers, the cupbearer and the baker, were cast into prison. Each had a troubling dream. Joseph, sensitive to God's voice, interpreted them. Restoration for the cupbearer, doom for the baker. It came true precisely as Joseph said. Before leaving, the cupbearer Joseph said, "Remember me when things go well for you, mention me to Pharaoh." But he forgot. 2 silent years passed. Then Pharaoh himself dreamed. 7 fat cows devoured by 7 gaunt cows, and 7 healthy ears of grain swallowed by 7 thin ears. None of Egypt's magicians or wise men could interpret. The cupbearer remembered Joseph, and Joseph was hurried from prison. Before Pharaoh's throne, Joseph humbly declared, "I cannot. God will give Pharaoh a favorable answer." He explained that 7 years of abundance lay ahead, followed by 7 years of severe famine, and proposed storing grain during the good years. Pharaoh, amazed by his wisdom, appointed Joseph governor of Egypt, ring on his finger, fine linen robe, riding the royal chariot, people bow the knee. During the 7 years of plenty, Joseph stored grain. When famine swept the land, Egypt had bread, and Joseph became savior of many. Desperate, his brothers came to buy food. They bowed before him, not recognizing him. Joseph tested their hearts to see if they had changed. When he finally could hold back no longer, he wept, "I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold to Egypt." The brothers trembled, but Joseph offered forgiveness. "Don't be afraid. You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to preserve many lives." Thus, a story of betrayal turned to one of redemption. Jacob and all his family were brought to Egypt, where Joseph protected them, and God's promise to Abraham lived on. Joseph's story teaches us that God's path is never linear. Before honor comes the wilderness, before the crown comes the cross, before exaltation comes humiliation. But for those who trust and remain faithful, God turns chains into thrones. If this story has strengthened your faith, subscribe to the channel, comment "I trust God's plans," and share this message so more remember, God never forgets his own. Until our next story, may Joseph's faith inspire you to stand firm, even when your dreams seem far away.